Twilight stop sits at mile marker 307 on I-10, right where Crockett County bleeds into Sutton County. Most people blow past at doing 80, heading towards Sonora or back toward Azona, but the truckers know us. We're the last fuel for 60 miles if you're heading west after midnight, and our coffee's strong enough to strip pink. I'm Dwight Mercer, and I've worked the overnight shift here for 3 months. Midnight to 7 a.m., 5 nights a week. It's not glamorous. Restocking Slim Jims, scrubbing the bathroom, watching tumbleweeds collect against the propane cages. But it pays better than the feed store. And nobody bothers you out here except the occasional drunk rancher who needs directions back to his own property. The weird stuff started in early September, right after Labor Day when tourist traffic died down. That's when I first noticed the 5:58 a.m. customer. They show up every single morning, 2 minutes before sunrise. I can set my phone by them. Same blue Ford Ranger pulling up to pump 3. Same person walking in with the kind of exhausted shuffle that comes from driving all night. They buy 3 things, never more, never less. A yellow Bic lighter, a bottle of Ozarka water, and a bag of Jack Link's beef jerky. Original flavor. The first dozen times I barely paid attention. Figured they were a pipeline inspector or a ranch hand with an early route. They'd count out exact change, $2.83, never a penny off. Say thank you, in this flat voice, and leave before the sun cleared the horizon. But last Tuesday, something made me actually look at them while I was ringing up their stuff. I mean, really look. I recognized their jacket. Same Carhartt I'd sold them the week before. I remembered because they'd paid an exact change for that too, which seemed odd for a $50 purchase, except the jacket looked different now. Less worn. The collar wasn't frayed anymore. Then I noticed their face. The first time I'd seen this person back in September, I'd have guessed they were pushing 40. Crow's feet, some gray in their hair, that weathered skin you get from working outside in West Texas sun. But standing in front of me that Tuesday morning, they looked maybe 35, younger around the eyes, less gray. I told myself I was mistaken, that the fluorescent bulbs made everyone look weird at 6 a.m., that I was just tired from a slow night. But when they walked out and I watched them through the window, I saw something else that didn't fit. Their jeans were Wranglers, the old style with the wider leg. I know because my dad wore the same cut before they changed the pattern in 2015. The sun broke over the hills. They climbed in the Ford Ranger. And for just a second before they drove off, I could have sworn I saw right through them to the gas pumps beyond. That Thursday, I started keeping a log. Nothing fancy. Just notes on the back of receipt paper, tucked under the register. Time they arrived, what they looked like, what they bought. The same 3 items every morning, paid for with coins that felt room temperature when everything else at that hour was desert cold. 5:58 a.m., blue Ford Ranger, lighter, water, jerky, $2.83 exact. Friday morning they looked maybe 32, hair darker, fewer lines around the mouth. I checked the security camera footage during my lunch break, scrolling back through the week. September 8th. Definitely older, maybe early 40s. September 15th, late 30s. September 22nd, mid-30s. The progression was there, undeniable once I watched it in sequence. Not just their fennies either. Their clothes were shifting too. The Carhartt jacket lost its fade. The jeans went from bootcut to straight leg to the wider vintage style. Saturday night, technically Sunday morning, I found the notebook. It was stuck behind the ancient microwave in the break room, wedged between the wall and the back panel. Black composition book, the kind we used in elementary school. The cover had water damage, and about half the pages had been torn out, leaving ragged edges in the spiral binding. The first page that remained was dated January 17th, in cramped handwriting that slanted hard to the right. Rules for overnight shift. Actual rules, not the corporate safety poster stuff. Dan never told me these because he thought I'd quit, but I found his notes after his accident. If you're reading this, you're working the graveyard. Pay attention. Rule 1. The dawn customer shows up 5:58 a.m. Cannot be refused service. Ring up their items exactly as they place them. Do not ask questions. Do not make conversation beyond standard greeting. They are not what they appear to be. Rule 2. If anyone comes in between 5:58 and 6:02 a.m. asking for the safe key, do not comply. Tell them the manager has it. Call the Sutton County Sheriff. Phone number is 325-387-2288. This is not a robbery. It is something worse. Rule 3. Never count the dawn customer's change before they give it to you. Let them place it on the counter. If you count it first, if you tell them the amount, they will. The entry ended there. The next page was torn out. I read it 3 times, standing in the break room with the hum of the old refrigerator drilling into my skull. Dan was the guy I'd replaced. He'd been here 5 years, practically ran the place until he drove his truck into a culvert out on Highway 163 in August. Sheriff ruled it an accident. Fell asleep at the wheel driving home from shift. His widow got the insurance payout, closed casket funeral, the whole terrible business. But Dan didn't seem like someone who'd doze off. He drank coffee like it was water, always sharp even at the end of a 12-hour stretch. I flipped through the remaining pages. Most were gone, but I found 2 more entries. Rule 4. The bathroom lights will turn off by themselves at 4:17 a.m. Do not go in to fix them. They will turn back on at 4:23 a.m. If you are inside when they go dark, stand perfectly still and close your eyes until you hear the buzzing return. And later, in shakier handwriting, Rule 5. If the dawn customer speaks to you beyond thank you, listen to every word. They have been where you are. They are trying to help, even though they should not be able to. Rule 6. The Ford Ranger is not real. Do not touch it. Do not approach it. When they leave, wait until you cannot see it anymore before you move. The final page had just 1 line, written so hard the pen had nearly torn through. They were me. It was always me. I heard the bell over the door chime. My phone said 5:57 a.m. The blue Ford Ranger was pulling up to pump 3, its headlights cutting through the last of the night. I shoved the notebook into my back pocket and walked out to the register, my hands steadier than they had any right to be. The door opened. The person who walked in looked about 28 now, and when they picked up the lighter from the rack, I saw their hands. Same scar on the left knuckle. Same place I'd burned myself on the deep fryer at the Dairy Queen back in high school. Same crooked pinky finger from when I broke it playing baseball in 8th grade. They placed the items on the counter and began pulling coins from their pocket, counting them out one by one with fingers that I knew better than my own reflection. They counted out the coins slowly. Quarter, quarter, dime, dime, penny, penny, penny. The metal clinked against the counter, each piece landing with precision that felt rehearsed. $2.83. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Just stared at those hands, my hands, laying out change with fingers I'd watched in the mirror my whole life. The scar tissue on the knuckle had the same shine to it. That slightly waxy look burn scars get after they've healed for a decade. I'd gotten it reaching into the fryer basket without thinking. Back when I was 16 and stupid and trying to impress Jenny Kohler by working fast. Ring it up. Their voice came out flat, exhausted. I scanned the items. The register beeped 3 times. My hands were operating on autopilot while my brain tried to catch up with what I was seeing. "Thank you," they said, and picked up the bag. "Wait." The word came out before I could stop it. They froze halfway to the door, their shoulders tensed, and for a long moment they stood there, back to me, not moving. The Ozarka bottle crinkled in their grip. "You shouldn't have said that." Their voice was quiet. "It makes this harder." "Makes what harder?" They turned around, and I got my first clear look at their face in the overhead lights. Not just similar to mine. Identical. Same slightly crooked nose from the time Bobby Hernandez threw a baseball at my face in Little League. Same small mole under the right ear. Same everything, just younger than I was right now. I'd turned 26 back in September. They looked maybe 24, 25. I've done this 17 times now. They walked back to the counter, set down the bag. 17 cycles. Every time I think maybe I'll get it right. And every time I watch you, watch me, die anyway. What are you talking about? November 14th. 2 months from tomorrow. You're going to die at dawn. They said it matter of fact, like they were telling me the weather forecast. Someone will come in at 6 a.m. asking for the safety. You'll be tired. End of shift brain fog. You won't think about the rules Dan left. You'll just want to go home, shower, sleep. So you'll reach for the keys. And they'll shoot you. Twice. Once in the chest. Once in the head, after you're down. They'll take the safe money and leave you bleeding out on the floor behind the register. The morning clerk finds you at 6:47 a.m. when she comes in for her shift. Your mama identifies your body at the county morgue that afternoon. The fluorescent tubes overhead buzzed. Outside, the sky was going purple-gray, that pre-dawn shade that means sunrise is minutes away. "That's crazy," I said. "You're crazy. How would you even—" They grabbed my wrist across the counter. Their hand was ice cold. Not just cold like they'd been outside in the night air. Cold like meat pulled from a freezer. Cold like something that hadn't been warm in a very long time. Listen to me carefully. I squeezed hard enough that I felt my bones shift. I know it sounds insane. I know you think you're hallucinating or having some kind of breakdown. I thought the same thing when the me before me grabbed my wrist and told me this exact story. But it's true. Every word. Let go. The shooter is Greg Bowen. He manages the Stripe station over in Sonora. He's been doing this for 3 years, staging robberies at isolated gas stations, killing the night workers, collecting insurance payouts. He's the one who killed Dan, made it look like an accident. He'll come in wearing a ski mask, but you'll recognize his voice if you listen close enough. He'll ask for the safe key, and if you give it to him, you die. I tried to pull back. Their grip was so cold it hurt, like touching dry ice. You're going to want to give him the key because you'll think cooperation means survival. It doesn't. He can't leave witnesses. He needs you dead for the insurance fraud to work. So when he comes in, you run. You go out the back door, you get in your truck, and you drive straight to the sheriff's office in Sonora. Do not stop. Do not try to be a hero. How do you know all this? Because I'm you. They leaned closer, and I could see my own eyes staring back at me, bloodshot and desperate. I'm Dwight Mercer. I was born June 14th, 1999, at Shannon Medical Center in San Angelo. My dad was Emmett Mercer. Died when I was 12, after his horse rolled over on him, out at the Triple Creek Ranch. My mom's name is Barbara. She works at the Crockett County Library. She makes that green Jell-O salad every Thanksgiving that nobody eats, but everyone's too polite to say anything. I know every detail of your life because it's my life. I died behind this counter November 14th, and when you die at dawn, exactly at dawn, right as the sun breaks the horizon, you get caught in the loop. My pulse hammered in my ears. What loop? This place sits wrong. The timing, the location, something about how the night meets morning here. When you die at dawn, you don't move on. You come back, trying to prevent it. But each cycle resets you younger, further back, until eventually you fade out completely. I've been doing this for 17 attempts. I'm 22 now. I was 26 the first time I died. 4 more cycles and I'll be gone. Just erased. And then nobody warns you. And you die. And you become the next one stuck in the loop, trying to save yourself. They let go of my wrist. 5 red marks showed where their fingers had pressed into my skin, already fading. 2 months, they said. November 14th. When Greg Bowen comes in at 6 a.m. Run. Please. I can't keep doing this. The first ray of sunlight hit the front windows, spilling gold across the tile floor. It touched their boots first, and I watched as the leather began to look translucent, like light was passing through instead of reflecting off. No, I started to say, but they were already walking toward the door. Don't forget, they said, and pushed through into the parking lot. I ran after them, but by the time I got outside, they were standing next to the Ford Ranger, their whole body going transparent in the morning light. I could see straight through them to the propane cages beyond. They looked at me one last time, raised one hand in a wave. Then the sun cleared the hills completely, and they were gone. The Ford Ranger sat empty at pump 3, driver's door hanging open. Except when I blinked, the truck was gone too, and there was nothing but open asphalt and the long shadow of the gas station stretching west across the highway. If you like the stories, please hype the videos from a button like this just above the comment section. It helps the videos to get more reach and perform well. It would take just a few seconds and cost nothing, but would help the channel grow even faster. Thank you. I called in sick for Sunday night. Couldn't face the place yet. Spent the day at my mom's house in Ozona, helping her reorganize the garage like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't just watched myself dissolve into sunlight 12 hours earlier. She made pot roast. I barely tasted it. You feeling all right, Dwight? She studied me across the dinner table. You look pale. Just tired. Weird shift last night. That gas station's not good for you. All those hours alone, nothing but highway and darkness. She got up to refill my sweet tea. Your cousin Brett said the All Soups in town is hiring. Day shift, better pay. I'll think about it. But I knew I wouldn't quit. Couldn't. Not until November 14th played out one way or another. Monday night I went back. Arrived at 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes early. The evening clerk, a woman named Luisa Torres, gave me her usual rundown while counting out her till. Slow night. Only 12 customers since 3 p.m. Beer delivery came. She'd restocked the cold case. Bathroom lights acting up again, she added, pulling on her jacket. Keeps shutting off by itself. I remembered Rule 4. What time does it usually happen? I don't know, around 4-something in the morning? Never happens on my shift, but Arturo mentioned it when he covered for you last week. Said it freaked him out. After she left, I pulled out Dan's notebook and read through the rules again. Rule 4 said the lights would cut out at 4:17 a.m., come back at 4:23 a.m., If I was inside when they went dark, stand still, eyes closed, wait for the buzzing to return. I decided to test it. The night crawled by. A few truckers stopped for diesel. A couple of kids from Alpine heading back from a concert in San Angelo. One drunk guy asking directions to his ex-wife's ranch, which I didn't provide. By 4 a.m., the place was dead. No cars on the highway in either direction. Just me, the refrigerators humming, and that big Texas silence that swallows everything. At 4:15 a.m., I positioned myself outside the bathroom door, with my phone ready to record the time. 4:16 a.m., nothing. 4:17 a.m. The lights inside the bathroom clicked off. Not a flicker, not a fade, just an immediate cut to black like someone had flipped a breaker. Through the open door, I could see nothing but void where the sink and mirror had been. Then I heard something moving inside the darkness. Footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps across the tile floor, from the far stall toward the door. The sound was wrong, though. Too heavy, like whoever was walking weighed twice what a person should weigh, their feet sticking to the floor with each step. I backed up. My hand found the fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. The footsteps stopped just inside the doorway. I couldn't see anything. The darkness was absolute, like it was eating the light from the hallway. But I could feel something there. Something standing just beyond the threshold, not moving, not breathing. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Don't look. Don't speak. Close your eyes. I closed my eyes. The temperature dropped. I felt cold air move past me, carrying a smell like old pennies and standing water. The presence shifted, moved closer. I heard breathing now, ragged and wet, right next to my face. Something touched my shoulder. Fingers. Too many fingers. They pressed down with a grip that felt like it would bruise bone, counting along my collarbone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 fingers on one hand, squeezing, testing, like they were checking if I was real. I kept my eyes shut and tried not to make a sound. The breathing moved to my other ear. I felt breath on my neck, cold like refrigerated meat. Then a voice, paper thin and wrong. Still here. The bathroom lights buzzed back on. I opened my eyes. Nothing there. Just the empty hallway and the bathroom looking exactly like it always did. 3 stalls, 2 sinks, paper towel dispenser. Everything normal. I checked my phone. 4:23 a.m. The text message was gone. I spent the next hour sitting behind the counter, drinking coffee that tasted like copper and trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. But I could still feel where those fingers had touched my shoulder. When I checked in the bathroom mirror, there were 7 small bruises forming along my collarbone, dark purple against my skin. The worst part? They were positioned too wide apart. Human fingers couldn't span that distance. At 5:30 a.m., I started checking the parking lot every few minutes, watching for headlights. My hands shook whenever I tried to pour coffee or stock the cigarette display. Dan's notebook sat open next to the register, and I kept rereading Rule 5. If the Dawn customer speaks to you beyond thank you, listen to every word. They have been where you are. They are trying to help, even though they should not be able to. 5:45 a.m. Empty highway. 5:52 a.m. Still nothing. 5:57 a.m. My phone buzzed again. Another text from no number. He's real. Bowen. I checked old newspaper archives. 3 gas station workers killed in West Texas over the past 4 years. All night shift. All ruled accidents or random robberies. All had the same insurance company. All the stations have the same regional manager. Greg Bowen. He transfers between locations, sets it up, kills them, collects the payout. You have to believe me." I looked up at the clock. 5:58 a.m. The blue Ford Ranger was pulling into the lot. They walked in, and I saw immediately that they were younger again. Maybe 22, possibly 21. The Carhartt jacket had regressed to the style from the early 2000s. Their jeans were Wranglers with the old tag placement. They gathered the lighter, water, and jerky without a word, brought them to the counter. "I felt it," I said, before they could stop me. "In the bathroom, at 4:17, something was there." They paused while counting out the change. The station sits on a crack. Time moves different here at the edges. Dawn, midnight, dusk. Things slip through. The bathroom is worst because that's where Dan died originally, before Bowen made it look like a car accident. His blood soaked into the grout. Now something lives in that darkness. What do I do? Follow the rules. All of them. The rules keep you alive until November 14th. After that, it's just you and Bowen and which one of you is faster. They place the last coin down. "The bruises on your shoulder, they'll fade by tomorrow. Don't show anyone. People will ask questions you can't answer." Can't I just quit? Find another job? I tried that. Third cycle through. Got a job at the feed store. Thought I was safe. They picked up their items. But the loop doesn't care. When you die at dawn on November 14th, it happens wherever you are. Bowen found me at the feed store instead. Same gun, same shots, same timing. The loop wants you dead at dawn on that specific date. Changing location just means someone else finds your body. So what's the point? If I'm dead either way. The point is, maybe you can break it. They looked at me, and I saw desperation in those eyes. My eyes. I've never made it past November 14th. But if you do, if you survive that morning, maybe the loop breaks. Maybe I stop resetting. Maybe I get to move on instead of getting younger and younger until I disappear into nothing. The sun was rising. Light touched the windows. "Please try," they said. "I'm so tired." They walked out, and I watched them fade in the morning light, getting more transparent with each step until they were gone. The Ford Ranger sat empty for 3 seconds, then vanished like it had never existed. I looked down at the coins on the counter. $2.83, exact change. But when I tried to pick them up, my fingers passed straight through them. They weren't real either. I started researching. Not at the station. Too many strange hours, too many things that didn't follow normal rules. But during my days off at the Crockett County Library where my mom worked, she'd give me confused looks when I showed up at opening time, laptop under my arm, asking about newspaper archives and old police reports. "You writing something?" she asked on Tuesday afternoon, bringing me coffee while I scrolled through digitized editions of the Ozona Stockman. Just curious about something. Marcus Webb, night shift worker at a Texaco outside Fort Stockton. Shot twice during an apparent robbery. November 9th, 2021. Nobody caught. Case went cold. Patricia Salazar, overnight clerk at a Valero in Sheffield. Killed November 11th, 2022. Same pattern. 2 shots, safe money taken. Investigation stalled. Daniel Reyes, my predecessor at the Twilight stop. Official cause of death. Single vehicle accident on Highway 163, August 2024. But when I pulled up his obituary, I found something interesting. His widow had filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the station's insurance company, claiming the payout was being delayed due to irregularities in the claim. The lawsuit was settled out of court 3 weeks later. All 3 stations had the same regional manager overseeing operations in 2021 to 2024. Gregory Allen Bowen, age 43, formerly of Midland, currently residing in Sonora. I found his Facebook profile, wife, 2 kids, posts about high school football and church barbecues. He looked normal, smiled in every photo, coached Little League. In one picture from last summer, he was wearing the Stripes gas station polo shirt, arm around his teenage daughter at her graduation. Nothing about him screamed serial killer who stages insurance fraud murders. But the pattern was there, undeniable once you knew where to look. Thursday night at the station, I printed out everything I'd found and stuck it in a folder under the register. If I died, when I died, if the loop customer was right, at least there'd be evidence pointing toward Bowen. Maybe the next person would find it. Maybe they'd believe it. The night was quiet until 2:30 a.m. when a semi-truck pulled up and a driver came in looking exhausted. Big guy, probably 50, with a Peterbilt cap and a belly that said he spent too many hours sitting. "Coffee fresh?" he asked. "Made it an hour ago." "Good enough." He poured himself a large added sugar until the cup was half full of crystals. "You hear about the Stripes in Sonora?" My attention sharpened. No, what happened? Closed down yesterday, some kind of investigation. Sheriff's office had the whole place taped off when I drove through this morning. Couldn't get diesel there. Had to come all the way out here. Investigation for what? Didn't say. But I saw them carrying boxes out. Documents looked like. And they had a guy in handcuffs. Manager, I think. Fit-looking fellow, dark hair. Saw him there plenty of times. My heart kicked against my ribs. They arrest him? Don't know. He was just standing there talking to deputies when I left. The driver paid for his coffee and a bag of peanuts. Weird thing is, that station's been having problems for months. Equipment failures, break-ins. Friend of mine who drives regular routes through there said he heard the owner was looking to sell. Insurance company was giving them trouble about claims. After he left, I tried calling the Sutton County Sheriff's Office. The deputy who answered said she couldn't provide details about ongoing investigations, but confirmed there was activity at the Stripes location in Sonora. When I asked if Greg Bowen was in custody, she said she couldn't comment on specific individuals and hung up. I texted the unknown number that had sent me information before. "Did you do something?" "Bowen's being investigated." No response. At 4:17 a.m., the bathroom lights cut out again. This time I was ready. I stood outside the door with my eyes already closed, hands gripping the edge of the counter. I'd decided I wasn't going to let whatever was in there touch me again. The footsteps started, same dragging, too heavy sound. But tonight, it didn't stop at the doorway. The footsteps continued into the hallway, coming toward me. I heard it breathing. That wet, ragged sound, getting closer. "Still here," the voice whispered. Closer than before. Right in front of me. I kept my eyes shut. Something grabbed my wrist. The same 7-fingered hand, ice cold, squeezing. I felt it pull, trying to drag me toward the bathroom. "Come see," the voice said. "Come see what happens to the ones who break." I yanked back, nearly losing my balance. The grip tightened, bones grinding together in my wrist. "Come see Dan. Come see the others. Come see where they wait." The lights buzzed back on. I opened my eyes. Nothing there, but my wrist throbbed where it had grabbed me, and when I looked down, I saw bruises forming again. 7 distinct marks, purple-black, too wide apart to be human fingers. The bathroom door was open. In the mirror above the sink, I could see something written in the condensation that shouldn't be there. The air conditioning had been running all night. nothing to cause moisture. I walked closer, heart hammering. Written backwards on the mirror, visible only from the doorway. November 14th, 6 a.m. back door. Below it, written smaller. Dan says run. I grabbed paper towels and wiped it away, hands shaking so badly it took 3 tries. The condensation shouldn't have been there. The message shouldn't have been there. None of this should be real. But the bruises on my wrist were real. The 7-finger width marks that no human hand could make. At 5:58 a.m., the Ford Ranger appeared. The person who walked in looked 19 now, maybe 20 at most. Their face had lost all the weathering of their mid-20s, smooth and young, but their eyes looked ancient, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. They gathered their items in silence. "Bowen's being investigated," I said while ringing them up. "They arrested him, maybe. Or they're about to. Does that change anything?" They set down the coins. "It doesn't matter. The loop doesn't care about the living world. Bowen being arrested in September doesn't stop what happens in November. Time here doesn't work that way. Then what's the point? The point is, you survive." They looked at me with my own eyes, 20 years of future death looking backward through time. "The investigation might mean when you run on November 14th, when you call the sheriff, they believe you faster. They might already be watching him. That's something. That's better than the nothing I had. What if I just don't come to work that day? I told you. The loop finds you. It's not about the station. It's about you dying at dawn on that specific date. If you're not here, Bowen comes to you, breaks into your apartment, finds you at your mom's house, runs you off the road. The method changes, but the result is always the same. They picked up their bag. 18 cycles now. I've tried everything. The only variable I haven't tested is you surviving the actual confrontation, fighting back instead of running instead of freezing. Anything different from what I did. What did you do? I gave him the safe key. Their voice went flat. I was tired. I wanted to go home. I thought he'd just take the money and leave. So I handed him the keys, and he shot me twice, and I bled out on that floor behind you in less than 4 minutes. The sun touched the windows. "Don't make my mistake," they said, and walked into the light. This time, as they faded, I saw something else in the transparency. Other shapes moving behind them, visible only for a second. People. Dozens of people, all walking in the same direction, all transparent, all caught in the same dawn light. All of them looked like me. Different ages, different clothes, but every face was mine. Then they were gone, and the parking lot was empty except for my truck. October became November. The desert nights got colder. I bought a handgun. Not something I'd ever wanted to own. But my cousin Brett took me out to his ranch and taught me how to shoot. Glock 19, 9mm. I practiced on beer cans lined up on fence posts until I could hit them consistently at 20 feet. Brett thought I was finally taking an interest in responsible gun ownership. I didn't correct him. I kept it in my truck during shifts, locked in the glove box. Texas law said I could have it on the premises as long as it wasn't displayed. If Bowen came through that door on November 14th, I wouldn't be unarmed. The dawn customer kept appearing. By November 3rd, they looked about 17, baby-faced, wearing clothes that were regressing toward styles from the mid-90s. Their Carhartt jacket had become a denim one. Their Wranglers had morphed into Levi's with the old orange tab. 4 more cycles after this, they said while counting out coins that still weren't real. Then I'm gone. Erased. Like I never existed. What happens then? I don't know. Nobody's made it that far, but but I think the station just picks another person. Starts the whole thing over with someone else. Fresh loop, fresh victim. That's insane. Everything about this is insane. They picked up their lighter, water, jerky, but it's happening anyway. They left before I could ask anything else. The supernatural events were escalating. The bathroom lights cut out every night now at 4:17 a.m., but the entity inside was getting bolder. On November 5th, it spoke my name. On November 6th, it followed me all the way to the register, invisible but breathing right next to me for the full 6 minutes until the lights came back. On November 8th, I broke Rule 4. I didn't mean to. There was a spill in the bathroom. Some drunk had missed the toilet by a solid 3 feet, and I was in there mopping at 4:16 a.m. when I realized my mistake. I tried to get out, but the door had locked somehow. Deadbolt thrown from the inside even though I hadn't touched it. The lights cut out at 4:17. I closed my eyes immediately, stood perfectly still. The footsteps started, closer than ever before. Right next to me, then circling around, dragging and heavy. "You're in my space now," the voice said. Not a whisper this time. Full volume, speaking right into my ear. "You shouldn't be in my space." Something touched my face. Those 7 fingers, tracing along my jawline, my cheekbones, mapping my features like it was memorizing them. "Soft," it said. "Still soft. Not like the others. Not yet." I kept my eyes closed, focusing on breathing. In through my nose, out through my mouth. Don't speak. Don't move. Dan was soft too. Before he broke the rules. Before I took him. The fingers moved to my throat, resting there. No pressure, just contact. He's still here. In the tiles, in the water. He can't leave. None of them can. I heard water running. The sink turning on by itself. "Open your eyes," the voice said. "Look what I made." I kept them shut. The fingers tightened on my throat. Not choking, but firm. A warning. "Look." I couldn't help it. My eyes opened. The mirror above the sink showed something impossible. My reflection was normal, standing there with a mop, eyes wide. But behind me, visible in the mirror only, were people. Dozens of them, crowded into the small bathroom, all watching me. All with my face. Different ages, different clothes spanning decades. Some looked 18, some looked 40. All versions of me, all trapped, all staring with hollow eyes. And behind them, barely visible in the shadows, something else. Something tall and wrong, with too many arms and a face that kept shifting between features I almost recognized. The bathroom lights buzzed back on. I was alone, just me, the mop, and my reflection showing nothing but my own terrified face. The door unlocked with a soft click. I left the mop where it was and walked out, hands shaking so badly I had to grip the counter to keep myself upright. My phone buzzed. Text from the unknown number. "You saw them. All the cycles, all the failures. You can't let yourself become one of them." I called the number. It rang twice, then a familiar voice answered. "Stop calling this number. You know it doesn't work that way." "How are you texting me if you're trapped in a loop?" A long pause. "Because the loop isn't just at dawn. It's all the time. I'm always here, Dwight. Trying different things. Sending messages backward. Looking for any crack in the pattern. Where are you right now?" "I'm everywhere I've ever been. Every version of me exists at once in this place. We're all here, all trying to break it. You're just seeing the dawn version because that's when the loop resets." I looked around the empty station. "Are you here now?" "Yes." "Where?" "Behind you." I spun around. Nothing there. Just the refrigerated cases and the door to the back room. "You can't see me when it's not dawn, but I'm here, watching, trying to help." "This is crazy." "Yeah." The voice, my voice, sounded exhausted. "But you better get used to crazy. You've got 6 days left." The call disconnected. November 10th, a Sunday. I went to see Dan's widow. She lived in a small house on the north side of Azona, the kind of place where every yard has a truck on blocks and the dogs run loose. She answered the door holding a laundry basket, looking suspicious. "Mrs. Reyes?" "My name's Dwight Mercer. I work at—" "I know where you work." Her face hardened. "You're Dan's replacement." "Yes, ma'am." I was hoping I could ask you a few questions about his accident. "What kind of questions?" "Did he ever talk about strange things happening at the station? Rules he had to follow? Anything unusual?" She set down the laundry basket. "You seen things there too?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" Dan started acting different about 6 months before he died. Couldn't sleep. Kept talking about Dawn, about someone who kept appearing. Said he was being warned about something. I thought he was having some kind of breakdown. She crossed her arms. Then he drove into that culvert at 6:02 in the morning, exactly at sunrise, and the insurance company tried to claim he did it on purpose to void the policy. Did they ever prove that? No. But they delayed the payout for 3 months. Said there were irregularities. Said he'd made claims about threats that couldn't be verified. I finally got the money, but it felt wrong, like they were covering something up. "Do you know Greg Bowen?" Her expression shifted. "The regional manager?" He came to the funeral, gave this speech about what a dedicated worker Dan was. It made me sick. Dan hated him. Said he was doing something illegal with the insurance claims, but he couldn't prove it. Did Dan leave anything behind? Notes? Journals? I threw most of his work stuff out. Couldn't stand having it around. She paused. But there was one thing. "Wait here." She went inside, came back with a small cardboard box. Inside were papers, receipts, and one photograph. The photo showed Dan standing outside the Twilight stop, smiling, holding a cup of coffee. But in the background, visible through the front windows, was a figure, blurred, translucent, like a double exposure. The figure had Dan's face. "He took that 6 months before he died," Mrs. Reyes said. "Kept saying something was wrong with it. Kept saying that wasn't him in the window, but it looked exactly like him." I stared at the photo. "Can I keep this?" "Take it. Take all of it. Maybe it'll help you more than it helped him." She looked at me with tired eyes. "Be careful at that place. Whatever's there, it killed my husband. Don't let it kill you too." On November 13th, the night before, I worked my shift in a state of constant vigilance. Every car that pulled into the lot made my heart race. Every customer who walked through the door could be Bowen wearing a disguise, but the night passed without incident. Truckers, a family driving back from El Paso, a state trooper who bought coffee and chatted about the weather. At 4:17 a.m., the bathroom lights went out. The entity inside called my name over and over, but I didn't go near it. I stood behind the register with the phone ready to dial 911, watching the seconds tick by until the lights came back. At 5:58 a.m., the Ford Ranger appeared, The person who walked in was 15 years old, a teenager wearing a Nirvana t-shirt that looked brand new, the kind that wouldn't be vintage for another 20 years. Their face was mine at 15, before the scar, before the broken nose, before adult life put lines around my eyes. They gathered the items: lighter, water, jerky. "This is cycle 20, they said. "Tomorrow you either break the loop or you become me. There's no other option." "I'm ready." "No, you're not. Nobody's ever ready." They counted out the phantom coins. "But you're more prepared than I was. You have a gun. You have a plan. You know what's coming. Will you be there tomorrow? When it happens, all of us will be there. Every version, every cycle, watching." They picked up the bag. "If you break it, we're all free. If you don't, I become the next one trying to warn myself. Yeah." The sun started to rise. "Good luck, Dwight," they said, and for the first time, they smiled. "I hope I never see you again." They walked out and dissolved into the morning light. I watched the parking lot for a long time after they were gone, thinking about all the versions of me trapped in that loop, all the failures, all the deaths. Tomorrow was November 14th. Tomorrow at 6 a.m., Greg Bowen would walk through that door, and one way or another, the loop would end. November 14th started like any other shift. I arrived at 11:52 p.m., parked my truck facing the exit, kept the keys in my pocket. The Glock sat in my jacket, safety on, round chambered. I'd practiced the draw 50 times in my apartment. Muscle memory. Don't think, just act. Louisa gave me the rundown. Quiet night. Beer delivery came late. She'd already restocked everything. "You all right?" she asked, studying my face. "You look like you haven't slept in a week." "I'm fine." "Well, happy birthday anyway. Didn't know if you'd remember. It's technically your birthday now, right? Midnight?" I'd forgotten. November 14th, 26 years old. The age the first Dawn customer had been when they died. After Louisa left, I locked the front door behind her, flipped the sign. We weren't supposed to lock it during business hours, but tonight I didn't care. I unlocked it again, checked it 3 times, made sure it would open fast if I needed to run. The night stretched out. No customers. Highway empty in both directions. Just me, the fluorescent lights, and the countdown. At 1:33 a.m., every light in the station flickered once. At 2:47 a.m., the refrigerators all stopped humming at exactly the same moment, then started again 5 seconds later. At 3:15 a.m., I heard footsteps on the roof. Slow, heavy footsteps that shouldn't be possible because the roof was metal and sloped and nobody could walk up there. The footsteps paced back and forth for 10 minutes, then stopped. At 4:17 a.m., the bathroom lights cut out. This time, the entity didn't stay in the bathroom. The footsteps came immediately, that dragging, too heavy sound walking straight toward me. I closed my eyes, gripped the counter, tried to remember the rules. Stand still. Don't speak. Wait for the buzzing. "Tonight," the voice said, right next to my face. "Tonight you join us. Tonight you learn what it means to die at dawn." 7 fingers touched my face, tracing my features. Or tonight you break it. Either way, I'll have something new. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. The 7 fingers moved to my throat, resting there. Run or stay, fight or freeze, give him the key or keep it. Every choice leads somewhere, but most of them lead to me. 4:23 a.m. The lights buzzed back on. I opened my eyes. Alone again. but written on the counter in condensation that shouldn't exist. Back door. I wiped it away with my sleeve. At 5 a.m., I made fresh coffee. My hands were steady now, adrenaline sharpening everything into crystal focus. I checked the gun, checked the back door, propped it open with a brick, clear exit to the parking lot. At 5:30 a.m., I called the Sutton County Sheriff's Office and told them I had reason to believe someone might attempt to rob the Twilight stop at approximately 6 a.m. The dispatcher asked if this was an active emergency. I said no, just a credible threat. She said she'd send a unit when one became available. At 5:58 a.m., the blue Ford Ranger pulled into the lot. The person who walked in was 13 years old, a child wearing my face, dressed in clothes from the late 90s, looking at me with eyes that had seen death 20 times. They didn't gather the items, just walked up to the counter and stood there. "This is it," they said. "Cycle 21. I'm almost gone. One more failure and I disappear." "I won't fail." Everyone says that. They looked toward the front windows. The sky was starting to lighten, that deep blue that comes before dawn. "He'll be here in 2 minutes. When he asks for the safe key, you run out the back. Don't talk. Don't negotiate. Just run." "What if I can stop him?" "You can't." "Nobody can. He's done this too many times. He's good at it." Their voice cracked, 13 years old and carrying decades of exhaustion. "Please just run. I can't watch myself die again." "I have a gun." They looked at me with something like pity. So did I. In cycle 7, it didn't help. "He's faster." A car pulled into the lot. Not the Ranger. That wasn't real. I knew now. An actual car. A white Dodge Durango with Sutton County plates. The Dawn customer looked at it, then back at me. "That's him. He's early." "How do you know?" "Because that's the car he killed me with in cycle 14. Ran me down in the parking lot when I tried to escape." I pulled out the Glock, kept it below the counter. The person who walked through the door was Greg Bowen. I recognized him from his Facebook photos. Fit, mid-40s, wearing a dark jacket and jeans. His face looked tired but friendly, smile lines around his eyes. He looked like someone's dad, someone's little league coach. He walked up to the counter like a normal customer. "Morning," he said. His voice was pleasant. "Quiet night." "Slow," I said. The Dawn customer stood off to the side, watching. Bowen didn't seem to see them. "Listen," Bowen said, pulling something from his jacket. "I need you to open the safe for me." Corporate called, said, "There's a discrepancy in yesterday's deposit. I need to count it real quick before the bank opens." He was holding a clipboard, nothing threatening, just a manager doing his job. But his other hand stayed in his jacket pocket. "Safe keys with the district manager," I said. "Store policy. I don't have access." "Come on, don't give me that. Dan always opened it when I asked." "Dan's dead." His smile tightened. "Yeah. Shame about that accident. He was a good guy." He stepped closer. "Look, I'm just trying to fix a paperwork issue. This'll take 2 minutes. Just open the safe. Let me verify the count and I'll be out of your hair." "No." His hand moved in his pocket. "I'm not asking." I raised the Glock, pointed it at his chest, and "I'm not opening it." For a second, neither of us moved. The station was absolutely silent except for the hum of the refrigerators. Then Bowen laughed. "You've got to be kidding me. You're going to shoot me over a safe count? I know what you did to Marcus Webb, Patricia Salazar, Dan Reyes. I know about the insurance fraud." His expression shifted. The friendly mask cracked, showing something colder underneath, Who told you that? Does it matter? Yeah, actually, it does. Because if you know all that and you're still here, you're either stupid or you think you're a hero. His hand came out of his pocket holding a snub-nosed revolver. Neither option ends well for you. Sheriff's on the way, I said. I called them 20 minutes ago. No, you didn't. And even if you did, they're 30 minutes out on a good day. Plenty of time for me to handle this. The Dawn customer moved between us. Bowen couldn't see them, but I could. 13 years old, transparent in the growing dawn light, raising one hand. Run, they mouthed. Back door, run. Bowen raised his gun. Last chance, open the safe or... I bolted. Not toward the back door like I'd planned, toward the bathroom. I don't know why. Instinct. Panic. Some voice in my head screaming that the back door was wrong, that he'd expect it, that he'd parked his car to cover that exit. Bowen fired. The shot went wide, punching through a Doritos display. I crashed through the bathroom door and slammed it behind me, throwing the deadbolt. Not that it would help. He could shoot through it, but the lights were out. 4:17 a.m. rules don't apply at 6:01 a.m., but the lights were out anyway. And in the darkness, I heard footsteps. Heavy, dragging footsteps. Coming toward the door from inside the bathroom. Finally, the voice said. Finally, someone brings me a gift. The door exploded inward. Bowen kicked it open, wood splintering around the deadbolt. He stepped into the dark bathroom, gun raised, looking for me. The seven-fingered thing grabbed him. I heard Bowen scream, heard the gun clatter on tile, heard sounds that human throats shouldn't make, wet and tearing. Then silence. The lights came on. Bowen was gone. Not dead on the floor. Just gone. Like he'd never existed. The bathroom was empty except for me, standing in the corner, gun still in my horn. And in the mirror, written in condensation, debt paid. I walked back out to the front. The Dawn customer stood by the register, and as I watched, they started to glow. Not fading, glowing. Light spreading through their transparent form. Behind them, other shapes appeared. All the versions of me. Different ages. All glowing now. All smiling. You broke it, the 13-year-old said. You actually broke it. The sun broke over the hills, full dawn flooding through the windows, and instead of fading, they all became solid for just a second. Real. 21 versions of myself, all standing in the station, all looking at peace. Then they dissolved into light and were gone. The Ford Ranger in the parking lot disappeared. The white Durango was still there. But when I checked inside, it was empty. Keys in the ignition. Registration in Greg Bowen's name. But no Greg Bowen. I called the sheriff's office back. Told them there'd been an incident, but it was resolved. They came anyway, asked questions I couldn't answer. Bowen's car sat in the lot as evidence of something, but nobody could figure out what. He was never found. Missing person case, still open. But the insurance investigation found everything. Documents in his car, on his laptop. 4 murders staged as accidents or robberies. Fraud stretching back 6 years. The station closed for a week while the sheriff's office processed the scene. When it reopened, they offered me the day shift. I declined. I kept working nights. Because at 5:58 a.m. every morning, the parking lot is empty now. No Ford Ranger, no Dawn customer. Just sunrise over West Texas, and the knowledge that somewhere, 21 versions of myself are finally free. Life went back to normal, or as normal as it could after watching a man vanish into supernatural darkness. The sheriff's investigation wrapped up in January. They found enough evidence in Bowen's files to connect him to 4 murders. but without a body, they couldn't close the cases. He was declared missing, presumed dead. His wife moved back to Midland with the kids. The Stripe station in Sonora got a new manager. I kept working the night shift at the Twilight stop. The new owner, a petroleum company out of Houston, offered me a raise to stay on. They were having trouble finding anyone willing to work graveyard in the middle of nowhere, West Texas. I took it. The supernatural activity stopped completely. The bathroom lights stayed on at 4:17 a.m. No more footsteps, no more seven-fingered entities, no more dawn customers appearing with my face. Every morning at 5:58 a.m., the parking lot stayed empty. I started to breathe easier, started sleeping better during the day. By February, I'd almost convinced myself it was over. Then, I noticed the midnight customer. They first appeared on February 23rd, a Thursday. I was restocking cigarettes when I heard a car pull up at 11:56 p.m. Not unusual, we got plenty of late-night traffic, but something made me look up at the clock when they walked in. 11:58 p.m. exactly, 2 minutes before midnight. The customer was a man, maybe 25, wearing a green army surplus jacket and work boots. He walked with purpose to the camping supply section. We kept a small stock for hunters and hikers, and picked up 3 items: a black Maglite flashlight, a 4-pack of D batteries, and a folded Texas highway map. He brought them to the counter without browsing, without looking around, like he knew exactly what he needed. "That'll be 1847, I said. He pulled out a 20 exact change, ready like he'd counted it before coming in. When I handed him his receipt, he looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not threatening, more like resigned. "Thank you," he said, and walked out. I watched through the windows as he got into a gray Ford F-150, the kind of truck half the men in West Texas drive. He sat there for a moment, not starting the engine, just staring at the flashlight in his hands. Then midnight hit. I heard the clock on the wall click over to 12 a.m., and his truck's headlights came on. He drove away heading east on I-10. I didn't think much of it. Just another customer. But 3 nights later, he came back. Same time. 11:58 p.m. exactly. Same 3 items. Flashlight, batteries, map. Same $20 bill. "You were here Thursday," I said while ringing him up. He looked at me, and this time I noticed his eyes. Dark circles underneath. The look of someone who hasn't slept right in weeks. "Yeah," he said. "I was." "Lose your flashlight already?" Something like that. He took his change, picked up the bag. "Do me a favor. If someone comes in asking about me, don't tell them I was here." "Who would ask about you?" He didn't answer, just walked out to the same gray F-150. Same behavior. Sat there until midnight, then drove away. I started paying attention after that. March 1st, 11:58 p.m. Same customer, same items, same truck. March 5th, 11:58 p.m., same pattern. March 9th, 11:58 p.m. But on March 9th, I noticed something different. He looked older. Not much, maybe a year or 2, but his face had more lines. His hair had gray starting at the temples that I didn't remember from February. March 13th, definitely older. Maybe 30 now. More gray hair, deeper lines around his eyes. March 17th, mid-30s. The army jacket looked newer, like it had less wear. This was the dawn customer in reverse, getting older instead of younger. Appearing at the opposite end of the day, midnight instead of dawn. Buying different items but following the exact same pattern. 2 minutes before the boundary. Same desperate look, same feeling of inevitability. On March 21st, when he walked in looking about 40 years old, I stopped him before he could gather his items. "What's happening to you?" He froze. "You noticed." "Yeah, I noticed. You're aging. Every time you come in, you're older." "That's not the worst part." He walked to the counter, didn't bother picking up the flashlight and batteries. "The worst part is I can feel it. Every cycle, I lose more time, more memories. I'm forgetting things, important things. My wife's name, my daughter's birthday, where I grew up. It's all just slipping away." "Why do you keep coming back?" "Because something's hunting me." "At midnight. Always at midnight. And the only way to survive until the next day is to have these 3 things." He gestured toward the camping supplies. "Flashlight to see it coming. Batteries because they drain in 60 seconds when it gets close. Map because it changes where I am, moves me, shifts reality around so I can't find my way home." "What is it?" "I don't know. But it's getting faster, stronger. Every night I survive, it learns, adapts. And I keep getting older, keep losing pieces of myself, until eventually I won't remember why I'm running anymore." He looked at me with hollow eyes. "You broke the Dolan loop. I heard about that. The workers talk, the ones who survived other places. There's a network of us, scattered across these stations on I-10, truck stops and gas stations that sit wrong on the map, places where time gets slippery." "How do I help you?" "You can't. The midnight trap is different from the dawn loop. It doesn't kill you. It ages you forward until you're too old to run, and then..." He trailed off. "Then it catches you. And I don't know what happens after that. Nobody's ever come back to warn anyone." He grabbed my wrist across the counter. His hand was hot, feverish, the opposite of the dawn customer's cold grip. "But you need to know something. The station picks people. You broke the dawn loop, so it should have moved on, found someone else. But it didn't. It evolved, made something new." His voice dropped lower. "The midnight trap is for you." "What?" "No, I'm not doing anything different. I'm just working my shifts. You're here every night. Midnight to 7 a.m. You're here when the boundary happens, when midnight ticks over into the next day." His grip tightened. "It's been watching you, learning your patterns, and soon, maybe next week, maybe next month, you're going to notice something at 11:58 p.m., something that wasn't there before, someone who seems familiar. And when they ask you for help, when they ask you to step outside or go to the back room or check something in the bathroom, you need to refuse. Why would I? Because that's how it gets you. That's how the midnight trap closes. One wrong choice at 11:58 p.m., and you're in the loop. Forever aging forward, forgetting everything that made you human, until you're ancient and lost, and it finally consumes what's left." The clock on the wall clicked to midnight. His hand released my wrist. He stumbled back, looking confused. "Who are you?" he asked. "Why am I here?" "You were warning me about..." "I need a flashlight, and batteries, and a map." He walked to the camping section like he was on autopilot, gathering the items. "Do you have these?" He'd forgotten. Right at midnight, whatever memories he'd retained just erased. I rang him up in silence. He paid with his $20 bill, took his items, walked out to his truck, sat there until 12:01 a.m., then drove away. I didn't see him again after that. His truck stopped appearing. I don't know if he finally escaped or if the thing hunting him finally caught up. But 3 nights later, on March 24th, something new happened. At 11:56 p.m., I heard footsteps on the roof again. Slow, heavy footsteps. Then they stopped, right above where I was standing. At 11:57 p.m., all the refrigerators hummed in perfect synchronization. At 11:58 p.m., someone knocked on the front door. I looked up. There was a person standing outside the glass, silhouetted against the parking lot lights. I couldn't see their face clearly, but they raised one hand and waved. The gesture was familiar. Too familiar. They knocked again. I walked slowly to the door, my reflection visible in the glass. The person outside moved when I moved. Same height. Same build. They pressed their face closer to the glass, and I finally saw them clearly. It was me, older, maybe 60. Gray hair, deep wrinkles, but definitely my face aged forward 40 years. They mouthed something through the glass. I couldn't hear it, but I could read their lips. Let me in before midnight. I looked at the clock. 11:59 p.m. My hand moved toward the door lock without me telling it to, like something was pulling me, compelling me to help this older version of myself. They knocked harder. Please, it's coming. Let me in. Let me in. Let me dash. The clock struck midnight. The older me opened their mouth and screamed, but no sound came out. Their body jerked backwards like they'd been grabbed from behind, dragged into the darkness of the parking lot by something I couldn't see. I watched them disappear into the shadows beyond the propane cages. Then silence. My hand was still on the door lock. I'd been seconds away from opening it, from letting the midnight trap close around me. I stepped back from the door, pulse hammering, and looked down at my hands. They were shaking, and for just a second, less than a heartbeat, I saw age spots that weren't there. Wrinkles forming and fading, my hands flickering between 26 and 60 and back again. The dawn loop was broken, but midnight had just begun. I still work at the Twilight stop, still do the night shift, midnight to 7 a.m. People think I'm crazy for staying after everything that happened, but the truth is, I can't leave. Not won't, can't. I tried once back in April. Put in my 2 weeks' notice, got a job offer at the All Soups in town doing day shift like my mom wanted. Better hours, better pay, actual sunlight. But on my last scheduled night at the Twilight stop, I got a phone call at 11:45 p.m. Unknown number. When I answered, I heard my own voice, old and cracked and desperate. Don't leave the station. If you leave, it follows you home. It followed me home. I'm 73 now. I can barely remember my own name. Don't make my mistake. Stay at the station where the rules still work. Stay where you can see it coming. The call ended. I tried to trace it, but the number didn't exist. I withdrew my notice the next morning. The midnight customer appears every few nights now. Never the same person twice. Sometimes it's the man in the army jacket, ancient now, barely able to walk. Sometimes it's others, men and women I've never seen, all aged beyond recognition, all buying strange combinations of items at 11:58 p.m. Rope and bleach, gasoline and matches, salt and silver jewelry. Each one is running from something. Each one is trapped in their own version of the midnight curse. And each one gets older every time they appear, losing more of themselves, until eventually they stop coming altogether. I've started documenting everything, writing down the patterns, the rules, the things that seem to help. I keep the notebook under the register, same place where I found Dam's rules. Maybe someone after me will need it. The bathroom hasn't been a problem since November. Whatever took Bowen seemed satisfied with that payment. But other parts of the station have started acting strange. The backroom door opens by itself at 11:47 p.m. The security cameras glitch at 11:52 p.m., showing people who aren't there. The propane cages rattle at 11:56 p.m., even when there's no wind. All of it building toward midnight. I've learned to avoid certain things. Don't answer knocks on the door between 11:58 p.m. and 12:02 a.m. Don't look at reflections in the windows during that time. Don't go outside for any reason when the clock is about to strike 12. And never, ever trust someone with your face who appears begging for help. That's the hardest rule, because I've seen myself out there 3 more times since March. Different ages, different levels of desperation. One version was so old they could barely stand, leaning against the glass, mouthing "please" over and over, while something in the darkness behind them waited. I didn't open the door. I don't know if that makes me a coward or a survivor. My mom asked me last week why I won't quit the gas station, why I keep working overnight at a place where people have died, where strange things happen, where her son is clearly not sleeping or eating right. I told her the money was good, that I liked the quiet, that it was easier than dealing with customers during the day. All lies. The truth is simpler and more terrible. The station won't let me go. I broke the dawn loop, and in doing so, I became part of something bigger. The building chose me. The temporal cracks and supernatural boundaries that make this place wrong. They've marked me somehow. I'm the new guardian, whether I want to be or not. Every night at 11:58 p.m., I stand behind the counter and watch the parking lot. Watch for the next person who will appear aging forward instead of backward. Watch for the next customer trapped in midnight's curse. And I wonder how long it'll be before I see my own face again in that glass. Older and desperate, begging to be let in. Because eventually, I know I will. The dawn loop is broken. But midnight? Midnight never ends.